Hey guys, it's Leo with Dreaming Tree, and in this video we're going to put together our new spooky lantern. And if you take a look here, you'll see that I kind of learned from the last one to pre-assemble one because this process is repetitive, meaning that you're going to do the same thing twice for both sides here, because you can see that we've got a scarecrow here and a scarecrow here, a witch here and a witch here. These are basically duplicates that we're going to join together to create a four-sided lantern. So I've already pre-assembled this one, and we're going to assemble this one from scratch here. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and just fold everything at the score lines. It's going to make life easier for us when it comes time to actually get everything joined together. And we can go ahead and start with either the scarecrow or the witch, doesn't matter. I'm just going to grab the first thing that I see here, and that is our scarecrow. Okay, so what we're going to do is these pieces here, these two pieces are going to go on last. Okay, so you can just kind of put these to the side. What we're going to do is we're going to work on this portion here, and the reason we have this here is that it goes inside here, and that's just going to create a nice inside, a nice finished looking inside for us. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to glue the vellum, and you want, if you're using AC cardstock, you want your texture side up. You don't want to put it on the back, because if you put it on the back, the design won't line up because it's not symmetrical. So texture side up, grab our glue, and it may help to just take and just put your vellum on top here just to kind of see where you need to put your glue. Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I will guide you through it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start putting our glue down. Okay, and I am just dotting my glue. I'm going to work the perimeter first, just little dots all throughout. Put a little dot in between these smaller dots, and just work it all the way down and around. Get your glue in as many of those little nooks and crannies as you can. And then you don't need to put any on the actual scarecrow because we've got another piece of vellum. We've got like a two-toned thing going here, which makes it more interesting. Okay. So we've got that. Let's just do our best to get that nice and aligned so that it's not sticking out at all. We want it within the boundaries of the black portion. And I'm just going to lift this up so I can scooch it around with my fingers here. And once we have it in place, you can go ahead and push down and make sure that that gets a nice, good grip. Okay, so we've got that piece. And now we've got our little moon here, okay, and that's going to go just like that. So what we want to do is we want to put glue on the actual scarecrow this time, and it's a pumpkin head scarecrow, my favorite. So work the insides, try to get little dots on all the little nooks and crannies. Don't put too much, don't overdo it, and then work a little bit of glue right around the perimeter. You want to basically be right on that line where the vellum and the cardstock meet. Just like that. Okay, and we can go ahead and push this down. Make sure you got it nice and centered, that all the cutouts are covered with your vellum, just like that. Okay, let's take a look at this. And that's how it should look, just like that. Okay, and now these pieces here in this video, my job is a little bit tougher here. We've actually, since I started assembling this, we've gone and thickened this up. Okay, so you'll have a little bit more surface area to work with here. But what you're going to do is just simply put a little bit of glue around the perimeter of this little squiggly cloud looking thing. Okay, you're going to have way more area. You don't have to put it as close as I'm putting it, only because I'm using one of the original versions of this, and we've actually modified it since this video. So you have a little bit more leeway. Okay, and then that's what that should look like. And then we can do the same thing with this little squiggly piece here. Okay, it's going to go just like that. So we want to just put little dots right around the perimeter. You can move yours a little bit further away. I cannot because I don't have as much surface area to work with. Again, you're going to have a little bit of a thicker version of this piece when you're working with it. And decided that we wanted to do that just to make sure that you can make this nice and pretty and perfect every time. Okay, so there we have it. There is our little scarecrow. And what we're going to do now is, and this is the outside, this is the inside. We're gluing this on the inside. Okay, so at this point, you can go ahead and put glue on the entire design. I'm going to start on the perimeter, just little dots between the little cutouts, and then try to work kind of quick. Get as many dots in there as you can, and then work the insides. You don't need to get it on every little piece here. As long as you get enough, you'll be totally fine. Definitely try to get it out by his little hands. Work the inside and try to get this down before it dries. Now I'm going to pick this up just a tiny little bit, and this little cutout here, right there, there's no vellum on that, so you can kind of use that as a guide to help you get that initially in place, and then kind of lift it up and adjust it until you've got it right on top and you're not seeing any border on the inside there. Okay, and then you just push down, get that in place, apply nice pressure throughout. Okay, and let's take a look, and there we go. That looks beautiful. Okay, so we can go ahead and finish off the front here. This nice little purple is going to go right there. So we're going to flip this over. We got my texture side up, and I've pretty much been using dots and the occasional line here and there. I just feel like I don't want to cake these with too much glue. A little bit of glue goes a long way, and then you don't warp the paper, and it just makes it pretty. It doesn't smear and smudge. Okay, and while you're doing this, look at and grab, like visually, pick one of the stars to use as a guide for alignment, and then you can kind of nudge it around until you get it exactly where it needs to be. There we go, and that just leaves this guy here, and that's going to go right on top here like that. Okay, so we need to put glue on this entire piece here, and we cut this out of a black glitter. That's going to make it really pop later on. It's going to be really cool, and especially when we put a nice little tea light in there. I'm going to use my little color changing remote controlled LED light that we got on Amazon. There's a link under the supply list section if you want to grab and get yourself a one, like the same one that we use. Okay, I think that's pretty good there. And again, just kind of use, focus on, like, I'm going to start at the top here on this hat just to make sure that that's aligned, and then the rest of it should just fall into place. Apply nice pressure on it, and there we go. So, and again, that's the process that I just did. You're going to repeat on the other one. Okay, so you're going to have two of each. Okay, so there's one half of that, and that just leaves our witch. Okay, and the process on this is pretty much identical. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to put that aside and put that aside. Those are the two pieces that go on the front. And then we've got this inner panel, okay, and that's going to go like this on the inside. So we want to work with the texture side up, okay, and we're going to put our vellum down like that. And then this one's going to go here, and then this squiggly thing is going to go here. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our vellum down. And again, I'm just kind of using little dots throughout the design, working the perimeter first. the outside. Get some dots in between those little cutout circles. And then just dots, dots, dots. Get your dots in there. You don't have to put anything on the witch. And just kind of work around. Get these areas here. There we go. It's pretty good. And as you're placing this, just make sure that you've got it somewhat aligned before you start pushing down. And that looks pretty darn good. All right. Give it a slap, give it a smack, push down. Perfect. Okay, let me lift this up. Take a look at my work. That looks good. Okay, so now our moon and the yellow part. So as you can see, this is where we do need to put glue on our witch. So let's start with the inside. And then we're going to work a little bit of the glue around the perimeter here. Basically where the vellum meets the cardstock, right on that line. Okay, just do your best. Try to work quickly. Just like that. Okay, and get that right on there. Make sure that you've got it nice and covered up. And there we go. Okay, and just like the last one here, this little squiggly, for me it's going to be a little more difficult, but yours is going to be a little bit thicker and wider, so you'll have a little more surface area to work with. And all you want to do is just kind of work that glue right to the edge of where the existing vellum is, right around the perimeter. Just little dots, you don't need a lot. Once it sticks, it'll stick. Okay. And we'll just pop that right on there and just push it down. All right, so that is all set, and we're going to go ahead and glue this right onto the inside of this part here. And we'll go ahead and we got to get glue on this entire piece here. I'm just doing a series of dots. Get some glue out on that perimeter. Get them on the witch. Every little dot here is going to be super strong. And a combination of all these will definitely keep it in place for you. Okay. All right. So again, you want to, as you're putting this down, maybe just use the stars at the top as your initial focal point for alignment purposes. And then that looks good, actually. I think I pretty much hit it right on the head, right there. I'm going to go ahead and push down. All right. And that is a nice fit. Okay, so let's take a look at the front. That looks perfect. All right, so we can go ahead and grab our little purple piece. And we're going to put glue on the back of this. I'm just using little dots and lines here. Going very subtle on the glue. You don't need a lot. Okay, and again, use a star or two as a guide for the alignment initially, and then everything else will kind of just fall into place, just like that. If you have a little bit of the black showing through, that's totally fine. It's going to look really cool that way too. It's almost like a little natural shadow. Okay. And last but not least, our little witch here. I'm going to go ahead and just put little dots. Okay, almost there. There's a lot of little details, but again, you don't need to make sure you get every little nook and cranny here, just as long as, let's say 80% of it is somewhat covered, it's gonna hold really nicely for you. So, all right, and again, let's just use like the star or maybe a part of her body or anything really. Just focus on like 1 or 2 points here for alignment purposes. All right, so again, you are gonna repeat that process on that side as well for your witch. So you have 2 witches and 2 scarecrows. And we can go ahead and start putting this thing together actually. So what we're gonna do, and I accidentally ripped this tab here, but that's okay. I still have enough surface area to hold this together. We're gonna go ahead and put glue on this tab here, and then there's a little cutaway there so we don't obstruct some of the vellum on its neighboring piece. Okay, and I'm just gonna spread that nice and thin all the way out to the edge. I'm gonna lay this down flat and bring this piece over, put it right next to it. Okay, and I'm just gonna push that down. Let it get an initial hold, and then I'm gonna lift this thing up and fold it flat on top of itself and run my fingers along these tabs here. And if it's nice and flush, you know that you've got this lined up perfectly. Okay, there we go. Give that a little extra time to dry. Then you can kind of flip it over like this and flip that over like that. We're gonna put glue on this tab now and close this baby up. Okay, get that glue out to the edge. There we go. All right. And there we go. And just can fold that flat on itself. All right, we have a little extra glue up here. And that looks great. So what we're gonna do at this point is put our little bottom on. And what I always like to do is find the side that you are most proud of, that you think is gonna be forward facing most of the time. And that we'll call that your front. And grab your little smaller squares, I almost call them triangles. And there's one with a little L on it. You don't want that one. You want the one without the L. And you're gonna put a little bit of glue on one of these tabs. And you wanna get that glue right out to the edge so we can get a nice clean seam. And I'm just gonna spread that out with my finger right out to the edge. Okay, making sure that there's none on the front. And take your piece here and get that nice and aligned. There we go. There we go. Okay. And then you can put this flat on your table and push down like that. Okay. All right, so now you can go ahead and close this up. We're gonna put glue on the remaining tabs here. Okay, so just a nice line in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little bit out to the edge. Okay, and I'm going to just spread that out nice and thin, right up to the edge so we get a nice clean finish. Okay, and then you can go ahead and close that up. And just kind of run your fingers along the edges here, just making sure that you have nice contact. And actually, you can go ahead and put this down on the surface of your table and push from the inside. Just like that. Okay. There we go. I'm going to take a look at our work here, and it looks like pretty happy with the result. I did this in the last video for the other lantern. If there are any parts of this that you're not happy with, grab a spatula, like the one that you use to take your paper off your mat, or I use a razor blade. I just put glue on one side of it, and I just kind of peel the paper back a little bit and just slide that in there and get a little extra glue and just kind of hold it in place until it dries. Okay. And if there are any other areas that you're not completely happy with, you can just kind of repeat that process and get some extra glue in there. It really helps polish off and finish off the project, makes it look nice and perfect and pretty. You can see, hopefully you can see that. It's kind of hard sometimes with the lighting setup in here to see black, but it's okay, you get the idea. Just kind of putting glue in there and then just pushing it down and holding it down until it's nice and flush and seamless. Okay, so the main body of the lantern is pretty much done. All we have left to do at this point is create our little base and glue this to the base, and we'll be done here. So in total, I was able to get this done it's been 25 minutes in this video, unedited. There was, 2 sides that I did off camera, so tag on another 10 minutes, but I'd say 30 minutes is not bad for an awesome looking lantern like this. And of course, you have to factor in cutting time, but even with the cutting time, this is a pretty quick project. So we've got these pieces here, okay, and we just want to fold these over, fold everything at the score lines, and then go ahead and flatten them back out. And we have these trim pieces here that are going to go right on there. So we can go ahead and put glue on these pieces here on the back of them. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere them to the base of our little, to the base. Okay, just make sure that you get it nice and centered so that you've got a nice even border going all the way around. I would focus your attention on the center part. Make sure that's nice and centered. The rest of it will kind of fall into place. Okay, so there's one. We got 3 more to go. This thing is pretty simple to construct as far as the little foot goes for our little lantern. And just doing little dots here. Okay. Looking at the center here, nice and centered. Pop it right on there, and bam. Okay. There we go. That looks great. Okay. 2 more here, then we can go ahead and put this guy together. Nice and easy. These are going to be really cool. Once we get a nice little LED light in there and light them up, I'm definitely going to have these out for my Halloween party. Ron did an amazing job with the design. And Diana really made this a joy to put together. Everything fits together so perfectly. I just couldn't be happier with these products here. Okay, last one, just little dots. And get that in place, then we can put our little structure together here. Just like that, nice and centered. If it's off a little bit, you won't be able to tell really. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? On this guy here, go ahead and put a little bit of glue on the tabs on the inside and take your little piece with the little L on it and just pop that in there. It's going to help sturdy up the base a little bit. Okay. All right, and we can get back to this guy here. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna join these two ends together, okay? And I'm just gonna put glue on this tab here. And like that. I'm gonna lay this down flat right next to this part here and just put that right on top. Give it a few seconds to get its initial hold, and then you can fold it over on itself and squiggle it around, move it around a little bit until you've got a nice flush, that these are nice and flush, these tabs. That way you know that you've got it perfectly aligned. You can go ahead and open it up. You've got this tab here. I'm gonna put some glue on this and just spread that out. Okay, and go ahead and put that down and just connect it. There we go. Keep everything nice and mirrored so that everything looks almost as if it's just two of these instead of four. They should sit on top of each other perfectly. Okay. All right, so there's the base. All we have to do now is put our little black part on top here, and then this turquoise part's gonna go inside to add a little bit more stability. Okay, so we can go ahead and put a little bit of glue on one of these tabs, get a really thin line out to the edge, and work that glue out if you can. If you want to, you don't have to. I just like to do it that way. Okay, grab your black piece and get that nice and centered right on there. Make sure you've got it nice and centered. Give it a few seconds to get its initial hold, and then you can put it down on your table and push down from the inside. Okay. Okay. So that just leaves 3 tabs here. Okay. So a nice line in the center, and then try to get a nice little line out to the edge. And I'm going to go ahead and flatten that out. Probably could have used a little bit more glue there. That's okay. I can always go in and clean it up if I need to using my spatula or razor blade. Okay, so as you're putting this down, again, flare these up a little bit. So as you push down, you grab more surface area. Okay, and kind of try to hold down all 3 sides and just kind of nudge it around until everything is nice and flush. Run your finger along the edge. Okay, and you can flip it upside down and push from the inside. Okay. Get a really good hold there. There we go. Take a look at your work. Make sure that looks nice and seamless, and it does. And we can go ahead and put a little bit of glue right on the tabs. And maybe just a tiny little thin squiggle on the inside. And let's throw our liner in there to finish it off, make it look really pretty. Also add a little bit more stability to it. Okay, so our base is ready for the actual lantern now. And all we're gonna do is just put a little bit of glue on the bottom of this guy here. Oops. Try to get it out to the edge a little bit, not too far, because as you push this down, it might kind of squirt out. I would stand up, get like an overhead look on this, and just make sure that you've got it nice and centered. And just plop it right down. Make sure it's nice and aligned. And just push down. Maybe hold it down for just a few seconds, and then you can just let it dry. It should be ready to go in about, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. These larger pieces, when you set them down on bases like this, give them a little extra time to dry. But that is pretty much it, and your lantern is all done.
Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.